So I worked with Dr. Dixon last winter on a reading enrichment grant.
Do you want me to hit the lights?
Sure, that would make it easier to see. Excuse me. So I took this semester, Dr. Dixon was in a conversation with Dr. Storr last semester over a reading project. And I ended up taking on this reading project to write the grant, because grant writers are kind of like a little separate than the organization. So Dr. Storr has a bunch of elementary education majors, and they are taking a children's literature class, and they go to a field placement at Luce Road Elementary twice a semester, and they'll read to the kids. And it's young fives, kindergarten, first grade. So they first will read, and then they do an in-class activity. So I am funding big books and costumes. And the big books, what's the difference between us? It's literally just a big book, 25 inches tall. And kids are like, yes! Books in the classroom and big words and big pictures, and they get all excited. And that's what we should do. And so that's and costumes, they're engaging too. Come on, who wants to go and see like someone dressed up? We always laugh when we see someone dressed up. And you see like the plot and the characterization starting to develop, and people get engaged, and the kids really love it. So we're funding these two concepts just to really make this new reading experience where kids can get more engaged in it and feel like it's interactive, and it's a visual aspect that learners can hear and see the stories, and they can come to life. So, and these are just some of the pictures of the elementary education majors. I'm like, come on, Snow White. So how did I find a funder? Looking for a funder, it kind of depends on the scale of your project. So government grants are a little bit out of the question for me. I would be kind of a little out of the radar because this is a small project. So I ended up using, I thought about Target because they had a lot of reading grants and enrichment programs that they give funding for, but you have to read the fine print because they only fund for St. Paul, Minnesota area. So I'm like, nope, that's not gonna work. So I went to the Gratiot County Community Foundation, and they're a small grant organization that they fund a lot of different small projects, and they provide this opportunity, and it's local. So I thought it would add to the personal level of the project. So that's why I picked that grant. So a little bit about Gratiot County Community Foundation. All of the projects they fund around the Gratiot area. Their motto is building bridges for future generations, and it uses projects to improve the quality of life. And the funds, so they want creative projects, and this reading grant kind of qualifies for that because it's like interactive and wants the kids to have this new experience with reading. And then also they have a variety of sectors of funding. There's art and culture, environment, education, health and wellness, social services, youth projects, recreation and improvements, and physical, mental, and moral characteristics. So there's a lot of different sectors that they fund. So there's lots of opportunities. So if you want to write a grant, it's a great place. Parts of the application. There are several different parts. This is kind of like standard for grant writing, the main parts. The mission statement, what I did is, because this is a reading project under the Alma College guidelines, I used the Alma mission statement. I mean, education majors being one, and knowing like the other education majors, they serve generously, they lead purposefully, they are stewards, and they bequeath to future generations. Projects, so we fulfill this motto because we want to utilize books in a way to increase reading comprehension and to build strong readers and writers so that they can be successful and go into the future and do jobs to help communicate and build a better world. So the mission statement was kind of something like that. And then for qualifications, if you are a funder, you have to think like one. They are entrusting money to you. So you need to look like you're accountable and responsible, because otherwise, why would they fund you? They don't want to give money and then all of a sudden just disappears. So Dr. Stohr's qualifications, she's qualified. I mean, she works at Alma College, so that's one aspect. And then elementary education majors, they have lots of experience because they work in the field. They have lots of classes and criteria, I know. And then they're college positive volunteers too. So they go out and they promote education to our younger kids because we want them to go out and get jobs and to feel this enrichment from education. And then also they have past projects that they've been involved in, such as Fall Festival and then reading nights at Stucci's. So there's lots of opportunity there. The project purpose is basically kind of what I said at the beginning. It's like explaining what the project is. And big books and costumes, they increase reading comprehension. The need statement, this is like, why is it an area of need? Why is it so significant that I get this funding? And I'll come back to that one. The activities and objective, this is our goal. Like, we want comprehension skills to be produced from this. And then the program outcomes, it's the short-term, long-term goals. So the short-term, we want the kids to be engaged. We want them to have fun reading. And the intermediate goals would be reading comprehension. And the long-term is seeing and observing this comprehension. We want to see, because standardized tests are a significant part, we want to see that reflected on those tests, that they are able to comprehend a text that they see. And the outcome measurement, this is measuring during the project. So in-class activities, after you read a material, you'll do an in-class activity, such as you'll play a game to see if they are getting if they understand like the plot, the characterization, setting, because keep in mind this is kindergarten through first grade, so we're not going to give them a worksheet because kindergartners are full of energy. And then, or you could draw a picture or something to show the knowledge. So now, here's the fun part, data. I know there's a lot of English majors in here, so data, when we hear that, we're like, oh. But standardized tests, I ended up using this to prove the need base for this grant. And for what I found was 61.7% of economically disadvantaged students are proficient in reading, and 71% are economically advantaged students are proficient. What does that mean? There's a 30 to 40% gap of students that are not proficient in reading in the Alma district. So that, and also there's a 10% gap between the economically advantaged versus the economically disadvantaged. So this further supports this need for interactive experiences, and big books and costumes were one way that we thought would help these students with reading. And then also I looked at the free reduced lunch scores, and 51.8% of the students in the Alma district use this system. That shows that Alma's school district has a lot of poverty in it, and kids that they don't have the materials at home that school can provide. We can provide them an opportunity where they can engage in things that they never saw. Like maybe a kid never saw a big book and they're like, this is so cool and so new. So that's one way to think of it. Okay, some graphs. Oh, this one didn't come out very well, but basically like 2009 shows 70% proficiency in reading. By 2012 to 2013, it is a little under 70%. So there's been a decrease. I'm not particularly sure, but I think it's because we're becoming a more technological generation. We need this interaction in the classroom. And then also, the second graph is a distribution of the different scores. The blue is the students that are 10% and they're advanced in proficiency in reading. The green is the proficient students in reading, 60%. And then the yellow is the partially proficient, so that's about 30%. And then the red is the 10% and less. They're not proficient in reading. So funding. When you're thinking of a funder, you need to think of also the size of, if you're going for governmental, it's a bigger budget. But remember, I'm going for a foundation, so it's a smaller budget and it fits for this project. Our budget was between $1,012 to $1,562. How I figured that out was that we wanted 22 books, we were thinking, and each book costs $18 to $21 because they're the big books. And then the costumes, we were thinking around 22, the same, and it's $25 to $50 a costume. So that's how it ended up getting to that budget. But a funding plan is showing that how are you going to support yourself after you are done, when the foundation either gives you the money, or how are you sustainable in the first place? So already the system's kind of in place because elementary majors, they would go to school and they would either get books from the library, so that's free, so that's one option, or they would, if we are funded less money, we'll just simply buy less books and less costumes. The third reason is we could reuse the books and costumes for future years. Letters of support, this is kind of like the ribbon around the package. You already filled out the application, adding some letters and different perspectives, such as I wrote a letter from an education standpoint, and then a parent wrote a letter that participated in this reading project, and then a student, also wrote a letter in 2014-15 about how seeing the words on the page might help engage him more in reading. This adds to the idea that we are we need these books. Where's the project today? They're 150, we ended up getting the grant and they approved it in June, I believe, and it's enriched. 150 children have used the books in the fall and 100 children have used it in the winter. So the books, how they were chosen was recommendation of the teachers at Luce Road Elementary, and then the costumes were bought by Halloween stores. And we have trained volunteers, our college students are trained how to best utilize the big books and costumes. So it's not distracting, but engaging in the class atmosphere. And we always have to consider Common Core, that's a given. But we tell the kids and the elementary student teachers that the books are funded by the organization Gratiot County Community Foundation. And we are really thankful for this because every little thing that we do, the small things in life, can make sometimes the biggest impact. And we need to start younger and move our way up. So why did I choose this project? I'm an English and education major, so I wanted to find a way to merge the two fields, and this grant did this just for me. And I think it's so important and essential that we start young when we're teaching, I think in any subject matter, but for a literary standpoint, it's so important to engage students at a young age in reading and writing and teaching them like the life that can come from the words we say and the way we communicate with people, how it can move people to make a difference in this world. And that's why I chose this project. It's the foundation of, like, I think, starting to mold me in the person I am. And I think it was a great opportunity. I'm so glad that I was involved with this. I'm thankful to Dr. Dixon and Dr. Storr for giving me the chance to write this grant to do this project. And these are just some of the books and costumes that were given after the grant. Thank you.